I just noticed it. Okay, here we go.
Okay, we are live streaming. Okay, and through
Okay.
the chair, it is 4 p.m. If you don't mind, we can begin.
Yeah, I'll call the meeting to order. And I also see that we have a quorum present. We have the three of us here. And I would like to begin the meeting. If you
Sorry, Mr. Chair, you are just cutting out a little bit. Would you like me to proceed with the opening remarks, or did you want to try again?
No, I asked, yeah, I asked if you would proceed with the land recognition statement, please.
Thank you very much. We begin this meeting by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. The territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging reminds us of our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and the friendship of the Indigenous people. Through you, Mr. Chair, you may proceed.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me well?
We can right now. If you begin to cut out, I can certainly take over for you, but do continue.
Okay, I think the first thing we introduce the panel and staff. We'll introduce you first, Sarah, the Secretary Treasurer. And then there's Brenda Stand. Would you give it a little wave? And Bernie Law. And then myself, John Clausen. And in the background, we have Derek Young, who's the engineering manager, and planner Andrew Edwards. So I can start with the opening statement. This is an electronic hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the Town of Pelham. Everyone present and viewing at home via live stream will be given an opportunity to comment on the applications being heard. This public meeting has been called to satisfy the requirements of Piling Act and Council bylaws. Now, the notice of this meeting has been given by prepaid first-class mail to all persons listed as owners in the last revised assessment roll within 60 meters, 200 feet of the subject properties. In addition, public sign notice signs have been posted on the lands, and information has been provided on the town's Committee of Adjustment webpage. Agencies commenting on the application may request that certain conditions be imposed should the application be approved. Voicing objections to these conditions will not, I must say, will not adversely affect the committee's decision. So you have a right to speak there. The purpose of the application and relative correspondence will be heard following, which the applicant will be given the opportunity to address the application. Pre-registered participants will remain in the open waiting room until you're called to speak. Please be advised, once you have finished speaking, you will be removed from the Zoom meeting. If you are live streaming at home and wish to submit comment to be read during the public portion, I meant being the public portion, you may do so by emailing clerks@pelham.ca. Comments received following the public portion will not be considered. At the conclusion of the discussion, the committee will render a decision and advise of any applicable conditions. Specific wording for conditions will be determined by the committee following the public portion of the hearing. Copies of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and members of the public that have submitted comments. Notices of decision can also be obtained by request to the Secretary Treasurer. Any person, corporation, or public body has a right to appeal either of the decision itself or the conditions of consent to the Ontario Land Tribunal within 20 days of the decision. That's for minor variance, and within 20 days of the mailing of the decision for consent application. And we ask that all applicant participants are mindful of background noise for the duration of the meeting. If you are not speaking, it is recommended you mute yourself. Committee members are asked to raise their hand if you would like to speak and vote, or when I ask for the vote. applicants, agents, and attendees are advised that they are free to leave the webinar once a decision has been made on their application. Okay. At this time, I would ask our members, does any member have any pecuniary interest in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act in any of the applications to be considered at this hearing? I have none.
I do not.
I have none. I have none.
It's recorded that nobody has.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, at this time, has there been any requests, sir, for withdrawals or adjournment?
No, there has not.
Okay, then we can proceed.
Certainly.
Okay.
Before I proceed with the presentation, I'll just be bringing in the applicant. Okay.
Okay. That's the file B1-2023 P. So I'll ask you to proceed then.
Correct. And you can see my screen okay?
Yes, thank you.
Application for consent file B1/2023 P, part lot 7, concession 6, being part 2 on 59R3127. The subject parcel is located on the south side of Metler, lying west of Effingham Street, directly west of 360 Metler Road in the town of Pelham. Application is made for consent to sever 1.779 hectares of land, being part 2, to be added to the abutting property to the east, part 3, known municipally as 360 Metler Road. Parts 2 and 3 are proposed to contain an existing single detached dwelling, tree farm operation, and proposed barn. Part 1 would remain vacant. To date, the following comments have been received from the Building Division, see condition. Public Works Department, see comments. Sorry, no comments. Niagara Region Planning and Development Services, regional staff do not object to the proposed consent application, see conditions. Niagara Escarpment Commission, the NEC advises that a development permit application is not required for the consent application, as a requirement for the consent with a condition of development permit application that approved the proposed barn location. No comments were received at the time of writing. I would just like to note, Mr. Chair, we did just about 30 minutes ago receive revised comments from the NEC. They are now requesting a condition. The condition reads that the final development permit be issued by the Niagara Escarpment Commission prior to final certification of consent B1/2023 P. So I would be looking to add that condition to the list of conditions.
Okay.
Planning staff is of the opinion that the proposed boundary lot adjustment is consistent with the PPS and conforms to provincial, regional, and local plans. The resulting parcels comply with applicable zoning bylaw regulations and should not negatively impact the surrounding neighborhood with respect to traffic, privacy, and stormwater management. Planning staff recommend that application B1/2023 P be approved, subject to the following conditions. That the applicant ensure part 2 merges on title with part 3. Obtain a building permit for the proposed barn. The barn is not to contain washrooms, bedrooms, or living space. The applicant submit an updated hydrological study that reflects the reduced lot size of parcel 1 and implementation of any updated recommendations required to support private servicing to the Niagara region for review and approval. That the applicant confirm no existing utilities cross the proposed new lot line. Should any services cross the new lot line, the applicant is responsible for their relocation and or removal so that utilities do not cross. That a copy of the Ministry of Heritage, Sport, Tourism, and Culture Industries Archaeological Assessment Clearance Letter be received to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning. That the Secretary Treasurer be provided with a registrable legal description of the subject parcel together with a copy of the deposited reference plan, if applicable. That the final certification fee of $423 payable to the Treasurer, Town of Pelham, be submitted to the Secretary Treasurer. All costs associated with fulfilling conditions shall be borne by the applicant. And as I mentioned, the newly requested condition from the Niagara Escarpment Commission that the final development permit be issued by the NEC prior to final certification of consent B1/2023 P. And if you wish to receive a copy of the notice of decision, please contact the Secretary Treasurer in writing as soon as possible. Holly Wilford, Secretary Treasurer, hwilford@pelham.ca. Contact information is also available on the Town of Pelham's website. Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the applicant with us, Mr. Arthur Carden.
Okay, then, Mr. Carden, if he unmutes himself, if you have anything to add, or I'd like your reaction to the Niagara Escarpment Commission condition that they just put on. Go ahead. Yeah, you're muted, Mr. Carden. Could you please unmute yourself and please proceed?
I will send him an invitation to unmute.
I think we okay now.
Yes.
Yeah,
Go
go ahead.
I have no objections to the conditions. I think most of them have already been taken care of. Hydrogeologically, archaeologically, etc. And as far as getting the approval of the NEC, that's not a problem.
Okay, fine. If there's well, if there's no other comments, has Brenda or Bernie, have either one of you a question?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna move to the public portion before we move to committee input. I'll just
Okay,
note that we do not have any pre-registered speakers for this application. And I did just check the clerks at pelham.ca email address, and there are no emails. Therefore, it is 4:09, and we will close the public portion. You may proceed to committee input.
okay. Any questions from the committee?
I have no questions.
No, Brenda, none. I actually don't have any. I mean, it's pretty straightforward with the Niagara Escarpment Commission and that, so I really don't have any questions either. If we have no questions, we could bring it to a vote. Do I have any proposal from any of the members regarding this application, whether to grant it or not?
I
Go
can do
ahead,
the
Brenda.
motion.
And the seconder?
Yes,
No, I would ask Brenda, would you please put the motion forward?
Okay, this is application file B1/2023P, Metler Road. Application for consent to merge Part 2 with Part 3 is hereby granted. The decision is subject to the following conditions. And I'll read the first condition: the final development permit be issued by the Niagara Escarpment Commission prior to certification of the consent. Number 2 is to the satisfaction of the Director of Public Works, confirm that no utilities cross the proposed new lot lines. To the satisfaction of the Director of Community Planning and Development, obtain a building permit for the barn, submit a copy of the archaeological assessment clearance letter. To the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasurer, merge Part 2 with Part 3, provide the Secretary Treasurer with a solicitor's written undertaking, a registerable legal description, and a copy of the deposited reference plan, and that the final certification fee of $423 be provided. This decision is based on the following reasons. The application conforms to and complies with the provincial policy statement, the regional policy plan, the town's official plan, and the town's zoning bylaw. This decision is rendered having regard to sections 5124 and 5125 of the Planning Act. No objections were received, and the committee considered all written and oral submissions and finds that, subject to the conditions, this application meets Planning Act criteria, is consistent, and complies with provincial, regional, and town planning policy.
Okay, thank you. And do I have a seconder for that?
yes, I will second that.
Okay, then I will call the motion to vote. All those in favor, raise their hand. I see. So the application is passed as written and as per conditions. Thank you, Mr. Carden, for your attendance. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That does bring us to item 7, being minutes for approval, and we do have one set of minutes for approval this evening, January 11th, 2023.
Yeah, now, how do we, I wasn't there and
That's
Bernie was
okay.
the only one there.
Yeah, that's okay. It's just a procedural motion to approve the
Yeah,
minutes.
Bernie,
Your attendance is not required.
no, Bernie, any problems?
No, sir.
And I would like to have a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting.
I will move.
I
And the
second that
seconder,
motion. Yep,
all
I
in
second the
favor,
motion.
Thank you.
passed. So that will be it. I gather then we need a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
That is correct.
I will move that we adjourn this meeting.
I
And
second the
Brendan,
motion. Second it.
all in favor, aye.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Now, Sarah, thank you.